Good morning. Good morning. My name is Matt Alspaugh, and I'll be presenting the message this morning. Our opening words this morning are by Kendall Givens, a Unitarian Universalist minister. In the beginning, silence. In the beginning, wonder. In the beginning, beauty. In the beginning, death. Holy the mystery, holy the journey, holy the hour of prayer. Blessed and merciful, blessed and generous, sacred as simple air. Summoning the duty, touch of compassion, keeper of song and flame, struggle and silence, praise and thanksgiving, truth beyond every name. In the beginning, on the horizon, life. And so, just as every week, I want to welcome you with Live from Fellowship Hall. It's our LCUUF Sunday service.
Good morning. My name is Robert Barnett, and I'm today's service associate. Our announcements were on a slideshow before the service, and were also sent out with our weekly newsletter. If you are new and would like to receive that newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the welcome team or write to us at info@lakechapalauu.org. And now a special welcome to our visitors. If you're visiting with us for the first time, or have returned or reconnected with us after a long absence, we invite you to say your name and tell us where you're from. If you're on Zoom, please use the Zoom raise hand feature and we'll ask you to unmute. If you're in the room, just raise your hand. We'll start with people in the room.
I'm Mary Baker from Little Rock, Arkansas, here at Paula's invitation. I'm only here for a month.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Connie Clark, and I live here.
Welcome.
Good morning, I'm Liz Hill, and I'm married to this guy who's giving you the message this morning. And my niece, Beth Tulanowski, is here from Fort Collins, Colorado for the week visiting.
I'm Susan Miller, and it's my purpose to embarrass my family here. Would you, Elizabeth, Julian, Meredith, would you please stand? This is my family. Many of you may remember when they were considerably smaller children. Yeah, and Dave and I, this is our last Sunday here till we come back, so it's wonderful, and I think they came because of the cupcakes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Secret Henrik. I'm here visiting my friend Joan. Again? Okay. My name is Secret Henrik, and I'm here visiting my friend Joan for the first time here at this.
Welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's switch to those on Zoom. Is there anybody new with us on Zoom?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. Very well. In a brief note, we offer a wide variety of services on various topics presented by our members, our outside guests, as well as our minister, Reverend Matt Alspaugh. We hope you will return to sample this variety of thought and belief. Our chalice lighting words today are by Julian Lepp. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, of welcoming of multiple truths. Now let us light our chalice with these words that we sing together.
Rekindle this light in celebration for the life that we share.
Each moment is a miracle encompassing everything: the joy and sorrows, the failure and success, the disappointment and happiness, the celebration and grief. This is the time in our service where we can briefly share our joys, our sorrows, and our milestones. We will start with the folks in the room to give those on Zoom a chance to type joys or sorrows into the chat to be read out loud by the Zoom host. First, let us recall the joys. Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourself or others, are there any joys that people would like to share here in the room?
Hi, I'm Barley. When we realized that there was cats peeing in the planters out there, a group decided to replant it, so we have rocks and new plants.
Okay.
My name is Lynn, and this may sound like a super tiny joy, but it has filled me up with happiness because my sewing machine has been broken for a year, and everyone said I have to take it to Guadalajara to get it fixed. Well, I found a guy in San Antonio who does it, and he's fast and he's reasonable, and if anyone has a broken sewing machine, see me.
Careful. I have a small thing too, but it's great. You know, I love having Secret here visiting me, and this is the first time I've gotten her to come here. But I have so enjoyed having guests here because we have so many options, things to do, wonderful music and theater, and I've been running like a crazy woman, enjoying it all. And I just, you know, this is a really special place. And I'm glad to have Secret here. And I'm glad to see my neighbor Connie here.
All right.
Thanks, Matt. Speaking of little joys this morning, I was looking for my orange name tag when I got here, couldn't find it, thought they'd forgotten me, only to find I've got a printed name tag. I don't know if that means I have to pledge now or that's what it means, I have to pledge. Anyway, I'm happy to be more a part of you. There it is. Thanks, man.
Oh, another one over here.
Hi, I'm Liz England, and this is my friend Ilona, and this is our second time here, and that really brings me a lot of joy. Now, where I come from, you can also say at the same time a sorrow.
We'll do that in a moment.
Okay, I'll wait.
You get another go around here. Yeah. Let's see. Any more? Okay. On to Zoom, I think.
Are there any joys to be shared on Zoom?
Yes, there are. So we have from Scott and Joyce Kinnear, who have a joy that their daughter Amy will be able to visit for 10 days starting Tuesday. From Pearl Glen, they are very happy to host a family reunion in Ajijic last week and to share the many joys of life in Mexico. And they're also very sad to leave tomorrow, yet already looking forward to our return. And from me, Colleen Beery, I got to see the Barbie movie with a great group from the fellowship and a few friends last week, followed by discussion over dinner. If anyone wants to join us for Oppenheimer, we're going to the 3 o'clock show this Tuesday, and just drop me a line if you'd like to join us. That's it.
Uh-oh, we forgot a joy.
Thank you. I'm Trudy, and some of you are long enough members to remember Steve and Susan Barr. Steve and Susan were incredibly important in our formation, and their daughter has been here for a week with friends. Susan was not able to travel because Steve still needs her presence, but we're very excited to not only have Lisa, the daughter, here, but their surprise granddaughter, Rosalie, who proves that you can never be too old to have a baby.
So, some in the audience disagree about that, or at least in a hope. Okay.
Now let us voice our sorrows. Whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. Are there any sorrows that people would like to share here in the room?
Okay, I'm Liz again, and this is Ilona again. It's just a sort of a need or a request. We live just 2 blocks down the street, 73B. It's Casa Anastasia. And we wondered if there would be anybody who would be coming maybe from that direction that could pick us up in the morning. And then we wouldn't have to ask the staff, and it would be a nice way to make friends, too. Thank you.
Talk to Liz afterward.
My name is Sue Kelly. This is kind of an addendum to last week's service. I would like to light a candle of concern for the children of the 28 schools in the Houston Independent School District who no longer have school librarians or libraries. I need to tell you that this has come about because the state of Texas has taken over HISD. They fired the duly elected school board and superintendent, and I want you to know how easy this is to do.
And to add to that, we're from Houston, and not only are there no libraries or librarians, they've turned the libraries into discipline centers.
Trudy.
Lou and I have a deep sorrow today. Many of you know our wonderful housekeeper, Lorena. Lorena's a person who finds everything for us, keeps us clean, keeps us ironed, and in general runs our lives, and we're very grateful to her. Lorena's husband died on Friday, and he had suffered from lupus. He was hospitalized, and we're going to the funeral this afternoon, which is why I'm wearing a dress and Lou's wearing a jacket and a tie.
Okay, one more.
Let me stand up. Okay. Hello, my name is Ilona. I'm one of your new, hopefully, members. I have a son who is going to be 70, and he's been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a bone marrow cancer. And he's gone through 4 weeks of intense chemotherapy. He's handling it all right, but he's by no means at the end. He will have surgery in September, and I'm really, really worried.
Hi everyone, I'm Dee Dee, and I'm going to be returning to Massachusetts where Larry and I are from and my family is there. But this year I'm not going to be able to see my grandchildren or son, and I'd just like to ask for some prayers and some good wishes that I'll be able to handle all this. Thank you.
Are there any sorrows to be shared on Zoom?
Yes, Robert, we have a couple. From Lynn Pleak, please light a candle of concern for Hanya Klock. She's a member of our fellowship who fell and broke her hand and had surgery on Friday. Also, please light a candle from the coaches who said there's a candle of concern for Heather Wilson as she has returned to Toronto to hopefully get back on health care there. That's all.
And this candle from our care team represents the joys and sorrows we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We light this candle for all those unspoken sorrows and joys. Let us share a moment of silence to hold in our hearts both the sorrows and the joys that have been shared this morning. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received. Instructions for payments to the fellowship are on a slide during the announcements before the service every week. For the people here at the fellowship, we pass a basket. If you're new here today or you are struggling to hold things together, let the basket pass you by. Your presence is more than enough of a gift to us. And while you're considering your gifts to the fellowship, remember that each month, LCUUF donates 5,000 pesos or more to an organization in our Lakeside community. We share 1/2 of the offering collected at the fellowship each week with that organization. For the month of August, we will support Tepawa Centro Comunitario. The Tepawa neighborhood is located on the hillside above downtown Chapala. It is considered one of the poorest neighborhoods in the state of Jalisco. Their vision is to help a village to help itself, to recreate a place for the poor the village can go for food, counseling, guidance, and help of any kind. If you're not attending the fellowship in person, please donate to Share the Basket when you pay your pledge. Donate to Share the Basket separately, or indicate what part of your portion is for Share the Basket. The offering will now be given and received. Our opening hymn is number 352, Find a Stillness. Please rise and body your spirit and join us in singing.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence,
This responsive reading is by the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. I will read the Roman text and I invite you to read the italicized text. You darkness, of whom I am born.
Now it's time for us to extinguish the flame.
But the dark embraces everything, shapes and shadows, creatures they meet, people, nations, just as they are.
It lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me.
I believe in the night.
I want to invite you into a time of meditation in just a few minutes. I wish we had more time. Many of us may wish we had less. But today, oftentimes meditation is focused on the mind, quieting the mind, doing work with the mind, focusing on objects of the mind. But sometimes focusing on the body and the senses can be another path into understanding. And so I invite you to just settle into your chair, get comfortable. Doesn't really matter what kind of posture you take, just be comfortable. I do invite you to just put your fingers together, clasping your hands together. And let's just relax for a few moments and just begin to notice your body. Notice the weight of your body into your chair. Maybe notice the temperature. Maybe it's cool or warm. Maybe notice the softness or hardness in that pressure. If you like, notice the movement of air into your lungs or across your nose. Just notice the sensations. And now I invite you to notice the sensations of touch of your fingers intertwined with each other. Just feel maybe warmth or coolness, maybe the pressure, the sense of feeling. As you notice those sensations, you may realize that in fact you can't really differentiate between the one hand and the other. You're just feeling this sensation of touching or warmth or coolness or dampness or dryness, just different sensations without a real sense of this is my left hand, this is my right hand. And in fact, if we had more time, we might explore other parts of our body and begin to notice how the perception of our physical boundary of our body can be sort of softened. We can sort of gradually let that go through a practice like this of just noticing the physical sensations, touch, heat, cool, hardness, softness, moisture, things like that. But for now, we'll return to this place and time and be together again. So we have a little brief opportunity to sing again. Very short, one verse bit, although I think we'll play it through twice because it may not be familiar to that many of you. May your life be as a song, or may your life be a song. And Kat is going to help lead us. Michael will play it through once, right? Completely. And then the words will be on the screen. Actually, maybe, Richard, you can pop those words up there so people can kind of get it into your mind. And then we'll please rise and join us in making a go at this.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, whatever you sing, it'll be a harmony.
Sing now.
Very, very good.
The first reading is by Michael Lerner from The State of Spirit, Tikkun Magazine, May-June 2002. It is the reality of human experience that at our core we respond to the universe with a sense of awe and wonder at creation. We are dazzled by the incomprehensible fact of being itself. Through history, we have responded to this sense of awe and wonder with song, with dance, with theology, with philosophy, with great art and architecture, with a sense of humility and recognition that there is something that is both part of us and beyond us, something which we cannot name or control. It is from this sense of awe that the most profound wisdom springs. A second reading is by Rainer Maria Rilke from the Book of Hours. I love the dark hours of my being. My mind deepens into them. There I can find, as in old letters, the days of my life already lived and held like a legend and understood. Then the knowing comes. I can open to another life that's wide and timeless. So I am sometimes like a tree rustling over a gravesite and making real the dream of the ones its living roots embrace. A dream once lost among sorrows and songs.
So before I begin this actual message this morning, let me speak about something that is up for us right now. We learned on Tuesday that our lease for this fellowship space will not be renewed. We have to be out of here by the end of January. This was quite unexpected. But let me note, the board and I have taken immediate action beginning to assemble a task force which will work, which actually is already working. They've done amazing work even in a couple days to find a new location for us. It will most likely be another rental, although other possibilities might emerge. The board will meet after the service today to affirm the task force and discuss their overall direction. We want to give the team the ability to move quickly, and it would be nice if we could relocate well before the deadline. Now, I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to find something reasonably suitable, maybe even affordable, and within our time frame. I'm reasonably optimistic. But whatever we find, I encourage us to remember that the perfect is not, the perfect is the enemy of the good. And that whatever we get will likely have shortcomings, just as this and the previous 4 locations have had shortcomings. And it's good to remember that what might be an initial shortcoming can sometimes turn into an advantage. For example, the lack of walls in this current space was a big reason that we were able to continue operating safely during the pandemic. So, in this situation, I see at least 2 spiritual messages. First, we are reminded of the impermanence of things. Nothing stays the same. One of the teachings of Buddhism, certainly, though I think it is broader than that one religion, is that clinging to things, wanting them to stay the same, just leads to suffering. So we will find a way to let go of this physical space and to move on to another, accepting both the gifts and challenges of change. And the second message is this. The fellowship is not the building. The fellowship is all of us. We here in this room, we here on Zoom, and others that could not join us today are the fellowship. We are the ones that make this a wonderful community, and we will continue to do the things we do even as we work through this relocation work. We'll keep on being this amazing Lake Chapala UU fellowship. End of special message. So on to today's topic. Now I'm guessing here that most of you are familiar with in legal form. Please don't try to read this. You would make an embarrassment of my slide-making capacity. These are in the UUA bylaws. That is, of course, the United States organization. Of these, most of us are more familiar with the 7 principles, the top part of this document. Now, here they are in a simplified and more colorful presentation. Something happened. We want to, yes, that's it. And wow. Ooh. I become the principles. Okay. All right, did PowerPoint crash again? Okay, we need to pop it up. 7 principles, please. So people can read them if they want to. You're probably kind of familiar with these, many of you, most of you. Okay, all right. Yeah. All right, so, and maybe a few of us might even be able to recite these principles. I'm not one of them. But we might be less familiar with the sources. The second part of that long section, which starts with the words, the living tradition which we share draws from many sources. And here they are in sort of a simplified form and in color. And this is where we're kind of unique. You see, unlike some other religions, probably many other religions, which hold that there is only one book or set of books, only one teacher that is sacred. We draw from many sources, and we acknowledge those sources in that list. And today I want to comment just a bit on one of those sources, the one I find most interesting and compelling, and it is our first source, which is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. So it is written, but it is not in stone. We, in fact, are thinking of changing these things even as we speak. So we list direct experience as the first source because it is primary. We understand the world through our senses, and we become wise over the years by our experience of the world, both the ordinary, everyday, mundane world we move through, but also the world of the spirit, however we each personally see that. Direct experience allows us to check out and identify and validate religious teachings that we find from other sources, through books or teachers or prophets. And it allows us to find our own spiritual paths. But what is direct experience of spiritual things like? So I think there are at least two varieties. Let's explore them. So there's this short poem from the Chan Buddhist tradition, which contains this phrase, which has stuck with me for many years. This poem, called The Song of the Precious Mirror, contains these lines. Now there is sudden and gradual in which teachings and approaches arise. Sudden and gradual. The poem is speaking of enlightenment or awakening or wisdom, and it suggests that there are two paths to awakening, sudden and gradual. And I think this is an important distinction in how we encounter religious understanding. Now, sometimes we may be here on a Sunday, or we may be reading something inspirational or walking outdoors. We suddenly have an insight and understand something that we did not before. And then again, other spiritual wisdom comes maybe much more slowly, gradually, over time, maybe many Sundays or a lot of reading or much living. Now, many religious teachings tend to emphasize the sudden experiences over the gradual. And I think this might be because the sudden experiences are more flashy. They make better stories. I mean, consider in the Christian tradition, think of Paul. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. No, actually a month ago. Him on the road to Damascus. You may remember the story. He gets visited by blinding, flashing lights, and he hears a voice, the voice of Jesus, and he converts and becomes a Jesus follower. In fact, some Christian groups actually have required a person to have some kind of sudden, visible conversion experience before being able to fully join the church. If you think that is crazy, remember that our Puritan forebears back in Massachusetts in the U.S., yes, we did come from those whacked Puritan folks. Our ancestors were like this. Now, in the Buddhist tradition, most enlightenment experiences are seen as sudden awakenings or illuminations. These, of course, parallel the Buddha's enlightenment while he sat under a fig tree. Or consider a much more recent spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle, who became a spiritual teacher only after a sudden awakening experience. Deeply depressed for many years, he had what had started out as a suicidal experience one night at age 29. And I quote what he wrote about this. One night, I woke up in the early hours with a feeling of absolute dread. The silence of the night, the vague outlines of the furniture in the dark room, Everything felt so alien, so hostile, and so utterly meaningless that it created in me a deep loathing of the world. The most loathsome thing of all, however, was my own existence. I could feel a deep longing for annihilation, for non-existence, which was now becoming stronger in the instinctive desire to continue, stronger than the instinctive desire to continue to live. I cannot live with myself any longer. This was a thought that kept repeating itself in my head. I became aware of what a peculiar thought that was. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me, the I and the self that I cannot live with. Maybe, I thought, only one of them is real. I was so stunned by this realization that my mind stopped. I was fully conscious, but there were no more thoughts. Then I felt drawn into what seemed like a vortex of energy. I was gripped by an intense fear, and my body started to shake. I heard the words, "Resist nothing," as if spoken inside my chest. I felt myself being sucked into a void. Suddenly there was no more fear, and I felt myself fall into that void. I have no recollection what happened after that. End quote. That's pretty amazing stuff. But then there are far more ordinary kinds of, yet still transformative experiences. I think of my Presbyterian friend who chose to go into ministry after a conversion experience as a teenager during a church youth group where she felt God was speaking directly to her through a hymn. Watch out about those hymns. Have any of you had a sudden experience of enlightenment? Maybe not as intense or as Paul or as the Buddha, or for that matter, Eckhart Tolle, maybe, or else you'd go off starting a religion or something. But perhaps causing you to maybe reflect on your life, maybe change your life direction, but still these experiences can give you life special meaning. Now, I must caution that not all such sudden experiences are necessarily pleasant or even illuminating. Some of them may feel like a bad trip, so to speak, but they could still lead you toward an awakening, renewal, or towards a better life. I worked as a chaplain in a hospital for a year in a hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota. And one day I pulled a consult request off the printer, a request to go meet with a patient, a young man in the mental health unit who was having spiritual distress. I go over to the unit and ask to see the patient. The nurse said, "You won't be seeing him for a while. He's in the quiet room." That's a euphemism, the quiet room. Even through the thick double doors in that room, I could hear screaming and banging against the walls. The nurse told me he had been brought in by his parents because he believed he was God reincarnated. Now he had become combative when he realized where he was. Over time in the hospital and then as an outpatient, this young man began to make sense of his experience of seeing himself as being God and translating that as to relating to God. He rediscovered his piano skills, playing first for our therapy group, and then the piano in the hospital lobby, and then later as a pianist in an upscale mall. But most of us have never had and maybe never will have such sudden experiences, good or bad. That may be a good thing. And yet, we can be open to the gradual path towards spiritual maturity, taking in our own direct experience with life and making spiritual sense of it over time. My understanding connects this kind of spirituality with the science of psychology. Now, maybe I'm biased from my time working as a chaplain in the psych ward of a hospital, But there are many other examples of this kind of cross-fertilization between religion and science in this realm. So, for example, the Dalai Lama has encouraged brain studies, MRIs, of Buddhist meditators, believing that this is the future of Buddhism. And many of my liberal Christian coworkers at the hospital readily incorporated Jungian practices like dream work into their counseling efforts. And in our outpatient groups, we depended heavily on dialectical behavior therapy, which itself is based on Buddhist practices. So psychology provides perspectives on how we might develop as spiritual beings. We might consider, for example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure most of you have encountered this concept, the idea that there is this sort of hierarchy. We take care of the most basic psychological needs first, food, water, things like that, before we address needs like safety and security. And only then can we address things like relationships and love and belonging. And then self-esteem. And finally, we reach this level of spiritual levels of self-actualization or self-transcendence. Now, and I think other folks in the field now don't see Maslow's hierarchical needs so rigidly as this hierarchical arrangement. And in fact, Maslow never drew that pyramid or triangular-shaped diagram. So just because you're hungry or feeling unsafe doesn't mean you cannot encounter spiritually transcending experiences or do spiritual work, but it might be a little more difficult. The point is that after we've got our basic needs met, we can devote more time to these more transformative needs. But how might we begin to explore such transformative spiritual ideas? We might start by looking outward. We begin to see our place in the world. As Rabbi Michael Lerner suggested in that reading earlier, at our core, we respond to the universe with a sense of awe and wonder at creation. So we look around, we tap into the joy and humility of being in this world. We see its beauty and complexity. We touch into those feelings of awe and wonder, and we begin to frame our spiritual understanding of the world and our place in it. Michael Lerner again, it is from this sense of awe that our most profound wisdom springs. But there's a catch. There often is a catch, isn't there? We have to look inward as well as outward, and that can be very hard at times. Such spiritual exploration, this gradual path, this looking inward may bring forth things that are hard to confront, for they live in the darkness, in the unconscious. And these things may ultimately bring self-understanding and wisdom. As the great German poet Rainer Maria Rilke says, "The dark embraces everything, shapes and shadows, creatures and me, just as they are. The dark lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me." So to fully enter into this gradual path, we must be willing to stand in the light in awe and wonder, and also to embrace the dark, the unknown, the mystery. And by doing both of these things, we open to a spiritually deep, fulfilled life framed by our own experience. Now, the Gospel of Thomas is one of those texts that was written about the same time as the canonical Gospels, the regular Gospels in the Christian New Testament. And rather than being an account of the life of Jesus, like the other Gospels, this Gospel claims to be the sayings of Jesus. And these sayings paint a picture of a far more mystical, complex, and profound Jesus than the one that appears in the other Gospels. So this Jesus tells us, if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, it will destroy you. And so to me, this is the essence of the gradual path of direct experience. You have to bring forth all that is within you, all that you discover. And if you refuse to do this, you'll be in trouble. I'm not so sure I'd use the word saved and destroyed, but you get the point. Now, in my life, I've learned that many people short-circuit their options to self-examine and to live a fulfilled life. They don't want to bring forth what's within them. They avoid such self-examination. They don't want to face the uncertainty. They don't want to admit the wrongs in their past. So they keep themselves busy with other things, perhaps their jobs, perhaps focusing on those lower needs in Maslow's hierarchy, getting more food, more entertainment, a bigger, fancier house. Perhaps they focus on relationships. Even there, going overboard, perhaps, even with helping others, becoming martyrs. Perhaps they just don't know where or how to look. So here are some practical ideas for self-examination, which I encourage. I've worked on these in my own life, these practices, and I've found them helpful. You might also. So journaling about your own experiences, and more importantly, about your thoughts and feelings that go with them. Now, for some people, this journaling might even lead to memoir writing. I haven't got there yet, but I know that some of you here have. Conversations with people who are willing to go deep, to deep, intimate places with you. Now, this might be good friends, but it also might need to be professionals, counselors, spiritual directors, therapists, really any person who is able to really listen well to what you have to say. Making time alone, being in nature perhaps while traveling. Reading the writings of mystics, of other spiritual teachings, looking for the strands of commonality between those teachings and your own life. And meditation, using any practice and posture that works for you, can be very helpful. The gradual path can open into the light of awe and wonder, a sense that we are both, a sense of that which is both part of us and beyond us. The gradual path can also bring us in those dark hours to a more profound sense of self-examination, to the days of our lives. We are like Rilke saying, I love the dark hours of my being. My mind deepens into them. There I can find, as in old letters, the days of my life, already lived, held like a legend and understood. And over time we come to a new place. Then the knowing comes, I can open to another life that's wide and timeless. And so we open to another life, our own life anew and timeless, rooted, connecting with others, connecting with the all, however we come to understand it. We bring forth what is within us, and we open again more fully to the light. Our closing hymn is number 311. It's a favorite here, Let It Be a Dance. Now, I love this hymn because of its third verse, with its line, without the dark, there is no light. Let us rise and sing. more verses. I don't know. Yeah. All righty. We who are here because we are on the path, the path to spiritual awakening and wisdom, the path which for us may be sudden or it may be gradual. But let us remember, without the dark there is no light. May we have the courage to explore the hard places of our natures. And may we have the willingness to bring forth that which is within us. May we be true to the journey. Let it be so. Let it be now. Let it be.
Let us extinguish our chalices with these words which we read together. Reach flame, but not the light of truth, the worth of community, or the fire of communion. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose. This concludes our service today.